And that's me. That's Edward.
Thank you.
We'll find out about some other great ancestors, because there's a lot of cool stories. All right.
I represent Grampy Denham, who served in the Army. And today I'm going to tell the story of how having dog tags saved my life. And so, the Germans had been defending this hill, and me and my platoon were ordered to go up and take it. So there was 1,000 men with me, and we also had 6 tanks, and they told us that the tanks do all the work, you guys are just there to support. But we were unable to take out the Germans' main defense, which was shells and machine guns. So the whole time while we were going up, we were getting really bad shelled. They were just throwing everything at us. And so within a few minutes, all the tanks were wiped out. And then a shell landed about 10 feet away from me, and it knocked me out. And when I woke up about 45 minutes later, out of the 1,000 men that were with me, there was only 9 that was able to stand and move around, and I was one of those 9. And the shell it ruptured both my eardrums, and it peppered me with the powder from it. But other than that, I was pretty much okay. Now, since we weren't able to take that hill, on that hill there were a bunch of shoebox mines. There was these little like mouse traps almost, except it'll blow your foot off if you step on it. And so I knew the way through those mines on this little path. And so the officer of the next platoon that was going to go up the next day, he asked me if I could lead them through since I knew the way. And he says, you know what, I know what you went through yesterday, but as soon as we get you over the hill, there will be a jeep waiting for you that'll take you to the hospital. So I was like, you know what, I don't really have a choice, so okay, I can help you. So we start going up, and I pass this foxhole with this dead German, and the Germans didn't collect their dead. So this body had been here for a few weeks, maybe months, and now it was starting to turn to summer. So in the day it would thaw out, and then every night would refreeze again. So the skin was turning purple, and the eyes were starting to run out. And I look ahead, and I see these 2 Germans, 300 or 400 yards away, standing by a tree talking. So I have to jump in the foxhole with that dead German, and I signal back to the guys behind me. I put my rifle over my head, and then I count off how many people I see, which means enemy in sight, and then however many people I count off. So I send that signal back, and then they send me the signal to commence firing. So I get one of them, but then there must have been some other Germans hiding somewhere else that I didn't see, and they saw me shooting, and then I was shot up through my chin and out close to my ear. And I knew that I had been hit, so I just fell down next to the dead German, and I tried to take this. They tell us to take a penicillin pill whenever we get shot to try and numb the pain. And so I tried to take it, and with my water, but everything was just gushing out the side, and then my blood from my jugular vein, it was just going, I could just see it coming out. And so, but since I had come up with another platoon, their first aid guy got to me real fast, and he was able to patch me up with a little tube, some plastic tubing, so that I would be able to survive that. And so I woke up. I was at the hospital the next day. They put a skin graft in, and I took a look at my x-rays, and the doctor told me that they picked out 27 pieces of bone from my jaw. It was just shattered. And my chin looked like a big jigsaw puzzle. So then they were going to take me to another hospital to do some more work. But on the way there, I was in the ambulance, and I hear the driver talking to someone outside, and he's like, "Who do you got in there?" And the driver is just like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of Germans." So they thought that I was a German, and so they took me to the German part of the hospital, where basically all the German guys are just stuck in there and are dying until the Americans can get to them after they treat their own men. So I was sitting in there wondering, and they had taken all my things when they first put me through surgery, so I didn't have anything except my x-rays with my dog tags. So I first tried to get the attention of one of the guys, and he's just like, "Shut up, you German," and he just kicks me in my ribs real hard, and I hurt really bad for a week. And then I remembered, after that, about 20 minutes later that my x-rays had my dog tags with them, so that I would be able to be identified. And so I pulled those out from behind my head, and I start waving them around. And as soon as they see that, they come running into me, and they give me a big shot in my spine. And then I wake up about 18 days later with my jaw wired shut, and everything was fixed in there.
18 days?
Mm-hmm. They kept me asleep so that
To
everything
heal.
would heal, so that it wouldn't hemorrhage.
That'd be horrible, like not eating for 18 days.
Well, they had me on IVs and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how.
Wow. So the x-ray that had the dog tag. So he didn't have even his dog tags on him,
Not that I know.
but he showed the picture. The x-ray
Yeah.
had the picture of him.
Mhm.
That's
I think so.
incredible.
And plus, they don't do X-rays for the Germans, so that also helped him. So then he spent 9 weeks in the hospital, just slowly regaining his strength and letting everything heal. And since his jaw was wired shut, all he could do was drink these shakes that they had. And so when he first went into service, he weighed 196 pounds. And then when he was in the hospital, they weighed him and he was only 126. So he had lost a lot of weight. Then with those shakes, he started to gain a lot back really fast. So after drinking nothing but shakes for about 9 weeks, he's like, "You know what, I've had it." So he had this guy slip him a chocolate bar, and he just slowly ate it. And he was like, "Oh, this is just the best thing." I think
Slowly sucked up.
I was able to get this chocolate down, so I think I'm going to try some of that fried chicken. So he starts piecing down the chicken, he starts sticking it down his throat, and then, but it didn't melt like the chocolate did. It was all getting stuck in his throat and he couldn't swallow it. So he just started coughing and coughing, and the doctor that was on call that day was actually out golfing. And so they had to call him in on an emergency, and he was mad that I ruined his golf game. So I was just sitting there coughing, but I couldn't do anything since my mouth was wired shut. So the doctor comes in and he starts just cutting all the wires, and he was just yanking as hard as he could because he was mad. And he was just yanking, and by now, since it's been 9 weeks, my gums had grown over the wires, so it was basically ripping all my gums out. And the doctor thought that he yanked really hard because he thought it was the last one, but there was still another one left. And so after that, I just got up and I just punched him. And so then I was like, "Ooh, this is not good." I just punched an officer, a medical officer. And he's like, "You know what, it's okay. I was really hurting you there." And so I didn't really get in any trouble for punching him. But he did perk me, he did clear me back for service.
Wow.
And so, because they needed room in the hospital, and I had pretty much healed. And since they cut all the wires off, the doctor, since he was mad, he was like, "You know what, I'm not fixing you up again, so you're just stuck with it." And so my jaw would pop in and out of the socket. And it was just the most painful thing. So after that, I was on permanent limited duty, which just means I don't have to fight anymore. And I was put into the postal unit in Japan. And I have some crazy stories from there. But
Keep talking till they come.
Okay. So on the way to Japan, the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and that other city, Nagasaki.
Mm-hmm.
And so they told us, you know what, you can't go to Japan right now. So they told us to go to the Marshall Islands. And so we were on the way over there, and then we were actually sitting in the harbor, and on the way to the Marshall Islands, they served us ham, but it had spoiled. So about 3,000 of us were sick on that boat, and so there was just a big mess everywhere. And some of the gun watch guys needed volunteers to come help, so I volunteered for that after I had got better from my food sickness. And that was nice because I got to be up in the open for 4 hours before I had to go back down. Every 4 hours I would get to go out. And so while we were in that harbor, these Japanese planes came and started attacking American ships. And so I got to help load ammunition to the gunners. And so I was probably one of the only guys who ever got Navy citation working for the Army. And that was called the Air Defense of Japan. And
All right, maybe we better go now.
all right.
It sounds like they're
Good
coming.
job.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, hello. I am Devon Dix Shepherd. I was born in Cedar.